Hello, and welcome to a podcast. I'm going to attempt to make a podcast out here with the dogs playing and the spring weather. I have a story to read, and I hope that you will enjoy it. We'll see whether this is a good format. All right. The name of this story is called Nana's Birds. People had called Annette Nana almost her whole life. When she was born, her 2-year-old sister gave her the nickname, and it stuck. When she was 4, her brothers convinced her that her name was short for banana. She had already learned you couldn't believe everything brothers told her, but since they made up the story the first time she saw her newborn baby cousin at the hospital, and the baby did look very yellow, just like a banana, she believed her brothers and broke into tears. Her mother assured her it wasn't true, but the nickname still stuck. In elementary school, she disliked her nickname even more. Back then, any kid who wanted to taunt somebody would usually say, na 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 na, and then run away laughing. But the nickname still stuck. By the time she was married, it was generally considered impolite to call your grandmother Granny. So many people started calling grandmothers Nana. Come here. Nana didn't appreciate anything that made her feel old, but the nickname still stuck. Then Nana started having her own grandkids. When one of her granddaughters said Nana, before she even said Mama or Dada, Nana started to love her name. As time went on, she got to be everybody's Nana. When Nana was in her 50s, she and her husband moved into their dream home. Their 5 kids were grown up with homes and families of their own, so Nana and her husband sold their home in town and moved to a place on a nice lake. They loved the lake, the beautiful sunsets on the lake and the peaceful atmosphere, broken only by the laughing of loons, the honking of geese, and the occasional invasion of grandkids. Soon after moving into the lake home, she started a new hobby. She began feeding the birds. Out there in the quiet of the woods, many different species stopped by her many feeders. Some visited on their northward migration in the spring and stopped by again on their way south in the fall. Others stayed, building their nests near the abundant food. Nana would sit for hours on the back porch and watch the birds flitting to and fro, sometimes fighting, sometimes courting, and sometimes just living the easy life of a bird who knows where its next meal is coming from. Nana and her husband agreed that their life was perfect. They felt like they could go on living in their little corner of paradise forever, or at least for a very long time to come. Neither of them suspected that Nana would have to say goodbye to her husband in about 3.5 years. One day, Nana's husband noticed something odd about his hand. Over the next months, the doctors discovered that he had amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, often called Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS for short. Nana spent the next 3 years caring for him and saying goodbye. By the time she said her final goodbyes, he was so weak that she couldn't make herself want him to stay even one day longer. It was time for him to go. She accepted it, but his departure left her feeling like half of her was gone. After she said goodbye and the fuss of a funeral was over, Nana realized there was a lot to do at the lake. The house wasn't new, and after 3 years of neglect, there was a lot of maintenance needed. She tried to perform some of the jobs her husband used to do. She could reach the bird feeders with a step stool, so she kept them full. She learned to keep the mower running, and by transferring the softener salt from the big bag into smaller buckets, she could carry it into the basement. Still, there were lots of other tasks she didn't have the hang of yet. Her kids were happy to do any of these jobs for her, but she didn't want to distract them from their first job, raising grandkids. She wondered if she should leave the lake. The lake was still beautiful. But she found little time to enjoy it because she spent her days worrying about how she was going to get the deck painted, the garage door fixed, the dock put in, the walkway power washed, the driveway graded, and everything else that her wonderful husband just seemed to magically make happen before he left. But she knew it was more than just the maintenance. She had to admit that part of the problem was that they hadn't lived in this house very long before the ALS arrived. The sunsets were still just as beautiful. The loons and geese still sang their songs. The birds still flitted about the feeders, but all of Nana's memories were of watching her husband leave her. She decided to look for a place back in town, a place closer to the kids and easier to maintain. Her daughter invited her to come live with them, but she wasn't ready for that yet. She wanted to live her own life, but she wanted to establish it somewhere more convenient for them all. She thought about calling a realtor to help her look for a house the day she finally accepted the change as inevitable. But it was a Sunday. She would just have to wait. Then she realized she could just drive around town and see if any place she liked had a for sale sign. She fell in love with her new home before she even knew it was for sale. She was driving around the elementary school when she looked across the playground and caught sight of the perfect backyard with the perfect back porch. It had beautiful mature trees, and she could imagine bird feeders in all of the low branches. She made her way onto the correct street and counted the houses down from the corner and couldn't believe her luck when she realized that her house was for sale. By 9:12 a.m. Monday morning, she had an appointment to tour the house, which was currently unoccupied. By 10:30 a.m., the tour had begun. At 11:17, the kids were released for recess. The shrieking laughter of the first kids out the door reminded her of a flock of birds. But pretty soon the volume grew and grew and grew. Maybe this wasn't the right house. She spent the rest of the day looking at other houses, none of which were nearly as appealing as her house. She spent the next 2 days considering the question and driving by the playground at different times of the day to see if it was always that noisy. It was. Finally, Nana came to a decision. It would take some getting used to, but she decided that having a yard full of kids to watch every day might be what she needed to keep her young. She bought the house, determining to make its proximity to the playground a positive. It was. She moved in and hung up her bird feeders. All of the usual birds came to visit, but she came to realize that either the noise of the kids or the close neighbors prevented many of the unusual species from frequenting her yard. It didn't bother her. From her perspective on the back porch, Nana felt that what she lost in avian variety, she more than made up for with her other flock. She always thought of the kids that way. They were her other flock, and she loved to sit and watch their antics. They would gather into groups, squabble and scatter, only to gather again. Their games of tag reminded her of the flutter of her birds as they crowded around her feeder, waiting for their chance to swoop in and snatch a bite. The playground was distant enough so Nana couldn't clearly recognize faces, but by watching them day after day, she began to recognize many of the kids by their distinctive behavior and their playground plumage. They might wear different outfits to school, but for recess, they wore the same jackets. She nicknamed the kids who she began to recognize after her beloved birds. There was the cardinal, the pigeons, a bluebird, a flock of chickadees, and even the cowbird, who made it a game to always rush over to occupy the last swing as soon as someone else was heading for it. Then there was the robin. Robin always wore a gray hoodie with a bright red emblem on the front. And even though Nana couldn't see the shape of the emblem, the color matched and the name stuck. Robin was always easy to find. Look for the monkey bars, and Robin was sure to be nearby. Soon, Nana noticed that recess wasn't the only time Robin was at the playground. Most afternoons and evenings, kids would trickle in and out of the playground. But on those occasions when no one else was there, Nana would watch Robin finally try the monkey bars. So far, the furthest she had ever seen Robin go was the third crossbar. Then strength failed and the Robin dropped to the ground. Nana understood what was happening. Robin wanted to cross on the monkey bars. It was obvious, but it was also obvious that the fear of failing in front of the playground crowd made Robin fade away anytime anyone else came near the monkey bars. Day after day, Robin flitted around the monkey bars, and most evenings the young student would visit the playground, hoping for privacy to attempt the monkey bars again. Nana felt compassion for her Robin. The child obviously wanted to be able to cross the monkey bars, but lacked the upper body strength to make it and the confidence to try in front of others. She remembered when her son Jerry had the same problem. He just lacked the strength overhead. He almost failed Phi Ed class because he couldn't do a single pull-up. It bothered him because all his other grades were A's. Nana remembered the talks she had with her son. He wondered what was wrong with him. Everyone else could do pull-ups easily. It wasn't fair. Nana's first thought was a wish that someone would point out to Robin all of the other playground equipment and activities. The child could just find something more practical to do, rather than to pick something impossible and spend every recess wishing. More practical. When she said it to herself, she realized that wasn't the answer. Most people did just that. They gave up their dreams for something more practical. She didn't know what made Robin want to cross the monkey bars, but the advice to find something more practical was a bad strategy in the long run. Maybe giving up the dream of crossing the monkey bars would make life better today, but once you start sacrificing dreams to something more practical, it never seems to end. As Nana watched day after day, she felt more empathy for Robin. She watched as kids who never practiced the monkey bars at all would crowd by Robin in a game of follow the leader. One after another, these kids would swing their way across the monkey bars. These kids never practiced. They probably spent the evening sitting on a couch playing their video games, while her Robin was out at the playground practicing to try to make it to the fourth bar. It just wasn't fair. Maybe there was another way to help. Nana's son Charlie was an engineer. Maybe he could invent something. Maybe there could be a movable platform under the monkey bars that would support a portion of the child's weight. Then she remembered why Charlie became an engineer. When Charlie was little, they got him his first bike and put on a pair of training wheels. The idea of training wheels is that a young rider will have more confidence balancing on their bike because they know if they lean too far, the training wheels will catch them. After 6 months, Nana and her husband realized that Charlie wasn't riding his bike, he was riding his training wheels. Every time Dad would adjust the training wheels higher, Charlie would find the right wrench and readjust them. Finally, Nana and her husband gave Charlie a 2 weeks notice. The training wheels were coming off. Charlie spent the first 2 weeks after they were removed trying to reinvent the training wheel. By the third week, when he finally learned to balance for himself on the bike, he had been converted into a mechanical engineer, an interest he never lost. Even if Charlie or someone else could invent a system, it wouldn't make Robin stronger, just more dependent, and it would steal the sense of achievement for those who could cross. Nana knew she didn't want to convince the Robin to abandon the dream, nor did she want to eliminate the challenge. But she wished that she could tell Robin that someone was noticing all the hard work and was celebrating every time a new crossbar was reached. 2 weeks later, she got the chance. Nana was invited to a 50th anniversary celebration for a friend. She wanted to go celebrate with her friend, but she also dreaded the reminder that milestones like that had been stolen from her by ALS. She thought she would just pop into the open house for a minute, then be on her way. Once she arrived, she noticed the familiar charcoal hoodie with the bright red front. Apparently, the youngster from the playground was related to the honored couple. Nana watched for a while to be sure it was Robin. Then, seeing her chance, she approached a vacant chair next to the child, who was eating some cake and ice cream. "My name's Nana. Do you mind if I sit here, or is this seat taken?" Robin nodded and kept eating cake. Nana figured at the rate of cake consumption, she would have to say something soon or Robin would be finished eating and gone. "I noticed you reached the fourth crossbar," Nana commented. "What?" Robin paused with a forkful of cake. "On the playground," Nana explained. "I noticed you reached the fourth crossbar on the monkey bars. I'm very proud of you." "How do you know?" Robin was puzzled. Nana tried to explain. "Sometime, look over at the row of houses next to the playground. If you look at the porch of the blue house, you'll probably see me there watching my birds." Robin was beginning to take an interest. "You watch me on the monkey bars?" "Almost every day," Nana answered. "That's how I know you made it to the fourth bar." "I'm not very good, am I?" Robin admitted. "Everyone in my grade can cross the monkey bars, except me." "That may be true," Nana responded, "but no one works as hard as you do." "They don't need to," Robin quipped. "They already can cross." "Maybe they don't need to work hard to cross the monkey bars, but that doesn't mean they'll never need to work hard." "I guess not," Robin admitted. "And you'll already be used to it," Nana pointed out. "Yeah, I guess so. But I still wish I could cross. Everyone else can, and I can only make it to the fourth bar." "I know. It's not fair. And I can't make the world fair. Maybe no one can. But how about if I make a deal with you? If you will keep working hard, I promise never to compare you to anyone else. I will only compare you today with who you were yesterday, and I will celebrate every time you improve." The next Monday, Nana saw Robin wave in her direction and then reach up and grab one of the monkey bars right there on the full playground. 2 weeks before the end of the school year, Robin made it all the way across. The child jumped down at the end of the monkey bars, landing with hands extended like a gymnast finishing their program. Nana jumped up and cheered. The birds at her feet, not used to such outbursts, took to the air, and Nana imagined the flapping of their wings was the applause of 1,000 onlookers cheering her Robin, who didn't quit. The following year, Nana missed Robin. There were others to replace her favorite, but Robin had graduated to the next school, which meant no more recess. Nana would occasionally see her Robin around town, but by now the favorite charcoal hoodie was too small. They would wave in passing, but it wasn't the same. This young person seemed less and less like her Robin every time they met. Then one day, 6 years later, Nana got a letter. It contained a special ticket to attend the high school graduation. She didn't recognize the name on the return address, and it took some asking around among her friends to connect the name with her Robin. She was excited to attend the event and was touched that her little word of encouragement hadn't been forgotten. When she arrived in the gymnasium, her ticket entitled her to a seat near the platform. She wondered whether she would even recognize any of the students who she used to watch on the playground. The band played, and the senior class filed in. She scanned the young faces for her Robin and was disappointed not to recognize anyone. Oh well, just being invited was an honor. She would try to find Robin later, after the ceremony. Just then, the name of the valedictorian was announced, and she realized that the face she had been seeking was sitting with the dignitaries on the platform. Robin stood up and approached the podium. Imagine that. Her timid little Robin was going to speak to the whole crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a terrifying honor to speak to you tonight, an honor I never expected. If life had happened as I predicted, I probably would have been at graduation tonight, walking across this stage and happily picking up my diploma. But here I am, up here in front, admittedly a little scared, giving this speech because of a deal someone made with me many years ago. While I was still in elementary school, I was discouraged because I couldn't do something and I thought everyone else can do it. One day, I met a lady who made me a promise. She said, "I can't make the world fair, but if you will promise to keep working hard, I promise never to compare you to anyone else. I will only compare you today with who you were yesterday, and I will celebrate every time you improve." I haven't seen her often since then, but I've always remembered her promise. She is the reason I'm up here giving this speech. I found out that no one can change the world to make it fair. But if I compare myself today to who I was yesterday, I can change me. And if I am the only part of the world I can change, that is enough. But if I keep improving, maybe I will come across some corner of the world that I can make better too. I'm about finished with my speech, and when it ends, I'm sure you will all applaud. Some because of what I said, and some of you will clap because it's the shortest graduation speech you've ever heard. But instead of giving me your applause, will you clap for my Nana? Nana was surprised. The applause began as Robin stepped from the platform, walked over, and gave her a hug. And all Nana could make out through her tears was the flashing of many hands, as if it was the wings of all her beloved birds taking flight. Come here. Hey, Kvee Jack. Come on, come on. Hey, Jingo, I love you too.